When you think of the wealthiest people in history, who comes to mind? Maybe Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, or perhaps historical figures like Mansa Musa or the Rothschilds. But what if I told you there was a king whose wealth was so immense, so legendary, that it makes today's tech moguls and oil barons look, well, almost poor? We're talking about King Solomon, the ancient ruler of Israel, whose story is filled with tales of wisdom, power, and a fortune that boggles the mind. Today, we're diving deep into the legend of Solomon's gold. Was he really the richest person who ever lived? And what happened to all that treasure? Let's start by setting the scene. We're going back to the 10th century BCE. The kingdom of Israel, under Solomon's rule, was at the zenith of its power and influence. The Bible paints a picture of a golden age, quite literally. According to the first book of Kings, Solomon received a staggering amount of gold every single year. The text specifies 666 talents of gold as his annual income. Now, what's a talent? A talent was an ancient unit of weight, roughly about 34 kilograms or 75 pounds. So, 666 talents of gold would be nearly 23,000 kilograms, or about 25 tons of pure gold, every single year. To put that into perspective, let's do some quick math. At today's gold prices, which hover around $75,000 per kilogram, Solomon's annual golden income would be worth over $1.7 billion. And remember, that was just his base income from taxes and tributes. It doesn't even include the gold from trade, gifts from other rulers, or his legendary mines. So, in 1 year, Solomon was pulling in what many modern billionaires work a lifetime to accumulate. Now, let's compare this to our modern billionaires. Take someone like Jeff Bezos, whose net worth fluctuates but is often cited as being around $200 billion. That's an astronomical figure, for sure. But here's the catch. Most of that wealth is tied up in stocks, assets, and investments. It's not liquid cash or gold bullion sitting in a vault. Solomon's wealth, on the other hand, was tangible. It was physical gold. The Bible states that he made silver as common in Jerusalem as stones, and cedar as plentiful as sycamore fig trees in the foothills. In his kingdom, gold was so abundant that silver was practically devalued. Imagine a world where silver is like gravel on the street. That was Solomon's Jerusalem. One of the most famous stories illustrating his wealth is the visit from the Queen of Sheba. Intrigued by tales of his wisdom and riches, she traveled from her distant kingdom, likely modern-day Yemen or Ethiopia, to meet him. She didn't come empty. She brought a massive caravan laden with spices, precious stones, and 120 talents of gold. That's over 4 tons of gold, worth more than $300 million today, just as a gift. Solomon, in turn, gave her all she desired and asked for, besides what he had given her out of his royal bounty. Essentially, he gifted her back so much that her lavish presents seemed modest in comparison. So where did all this gold come from? This is where the story gets even more fascinating and mysterious. The primary source mentioned is the land of Ophir. Solomon, in partnership with Hiram, the king of Tyre, sent out a massive fleet of ships on expeditions that would last for years. These ships would return from Ophir laden with gold, silver, ivory, apes, and peacocks. The exact location of Ophir is one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. Scholars have proposed locations all over the world, from Africa, maybe in Zimbabwe, to India, or even the Philippines. Wherever it was, Ophir was a seemingly inexhaustible source of treasure. Think about the logistics of this operation. Building a fleet of ships capable of long-distance sea travel, manning them with sailors, and navigating treacherous waters to a distant, secret land. This was a massive undertaking for the ancient world. It speaks to a level of organization, wealth, and maritime power that was unparalleled at the time. This wasn't just a king sitting on a throne counting his coins. This was an international business mogul running a global empire. And what did Solomon do with all this wealth? He built, the most famous of his projects was the first temple in Jerusalem, also known as Solomon's Temple. This wasn't just a place of worship. It was an architectural masterpiece, a symbol of God's presence and Solomon's power. The descriptions in the Bible are breathtaking. The interior was overlaid with pure gold. The altar, the tables, the lampstands all made of gold. Even the Holy of Holies, the most sacred inner sanctum, was entirely lined with gold. Historians estimate that the amount of gold used in the temple alone could be worth tens, if not hundreds, of billions of dollars today. Beyond the temple, his own palace was a marvel of opulence. It took 13 years to build. He had an ivory throne, overlaid with the finest gold. The throne had 6 steps, with 2 lions standing beside the armrests, and 12 lions standing on the steps, one at either end of each step. Nothing like it had ever been made for any other kingdom. All of King Solomon's goblets were gold, and all the household articles in the palace of the Forest of Lebanon were pure gold. Nothing was made of silver, because silver was considered of little value in Solomon's days. He literally had too much gold to know what to do with it. Now, let's circle back to the comparison with modern billionaires. If we try to estimate Solomon's total net worth in today's terms, the numbers become truly mind-bending. Financial historians and scholars have tried to calculate it, and the estimates are staggering. Some put his fortune at over $2 trillion. Others argue it could be far, far more. potentially making him not just a trillionaire, but a multi-trillionaire. At that level, he wouldn't just be richer than Bezos or Musk. He would be wealthier than many modern nations combined. But here's a crucial point. Can we really compare ancient wealth with modern wealth? The value of gold has changed. The global economy is infinitely more complex. Today's wealth is built on technology, data, and intellectual property. Solomon's was built on a tangible, glittering metal. However, if we think in terms of purchasing power and sheer dominance, Solomon's position was absolute. He controlled the trade routes. He had a monopoly on certain goods. His wealth wasn't just a number on a screen. It was the physical foundation of his empire's power and influence. He could fund armies, build cities, and commission projects on a scale that was unimaginable to his contemporaries. So what happened to it all? Where did the trillions of dollars in gold go? This is the tragic and mysterious final chapter of the story. After Solomon's death, his kingdom fractured. The Golden Age ended. Over the centuries, Jerusalem was conquered and sacked multiple times. The Babylonians, under King Nebuchadnezzar, destroyed the first temple in 586 BCE and carried off its treasures to Babylon. What happened to the gold after that is a matter of speculation. Was it melted down, distributed, hidden? This has given rise to countless legends and treasure hunts. From the Knights Templars supposedly discovering the treasure under the Temple Mount to modern-day adventurers searching for the lost mines of Ophir, the legend of Solomon's gold has captivated humanity for millennia. It's the ultimate lost treasure story. The idea that a fortune of this magnitude could simply vanish is almost as incredible as its existence in the first place. So, was King Solomon the richest person ever? When you consider the sheer volume of physical gold he controlled, the absolute economic dominance he wielded, and the legendary scale of his spending, the answer is a resounding probably. While modern billionaires have amassed incredible fortunes in a complex global economy, Solomon's wealth was of a different kind, raw, tangible, and mythic in its proportions. He didn't just own wealth, he defined it. His story serves as a timeless reminder that for all our modern advancements, there are tales from the ancient world that can still put our own achievements into a much, much humbler perspective. What do you think? Could a treasure of that size really just disappear? And is there any chance the lost mines of Ophir are still out there, waiting to be rediscovered? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey into the past, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into history's greatest mysteries. See you next time.